ते काल पण तू असेल.
Hi, good morning, everybody. How are you doing?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
It's okay. Line के काफी.
So, is students from AISSMS and JSPM are in some conference room together? I see many other people joining also.
So a few of them have joined in from their homes. Rest of us are in the lab.
Okay. Yeah, I can't see anybody from AISSMS. Do you guys have the video turned on?
Yeah, we will turn it on.
इधर एक्सेस दिली नाही कॅमेरा एक्सेस स्टार्ट व्हिडिओ कर
All right, yeah, I can see everybody. All right, so it's 4 after, so we'll go ahead and get started. Today we are going to cover on, so we covered some theory and we talked about, we saw some demos. Now we are going to focus on one particular aspect of this. So machine learning as a concept is pretty wide and it's pretty involved. We can't really cover libraries like TensorFlow or something similar in a week. It involves a lot of math and a lot of algorithms for that to happen. So instead, what we are going to try to do is we are going to try to use a Google product called Dialogflow. So it's dialogflow.com. That's a Google product, and that one combines some kind of machine learning which they have built. So the voice to text and text to voice, that uses the Google's machine learning, and then more importantly, the voice, the text clues that you give to the bot or you program into the bot. We use Google's machine learning to interpret that text, and so that way we can ask questions in different words, and it can infer if they are similar, and then you don't need to write every possible variation of a sentence. in case of a chatbot. So I'm using the word chatbot quite liberally. Chatbot is just a text-based interface, but because Google allows you voice interaction, it could be that the input is actually voice that gets converted to text, and then on the back end, the text generated response text is converted back into voice. So for most intents purposes, we'll just call it a chatbot. So let me just go over like a quick intro video for that. So that's basically at the dialogflow.com site. You can go there and check out. There's a lot of material to read. So basically, the advantages of using Dialogflow to get a flavor of machine learning is it uses sophisticated natural language processing engine that Google has built. So we can, in the beginning, to get a flavor for it, we can use what they have already built and figure out how it can solve uh, actual problems. And through that, you will learn how the data and data quality affects the results. So Dialogflow is based on obviously Google infrastructure, uh, and it uses the natural language processing engine that is based on TensorFlow that Google has developed. So we are basically combine multiple steps into one. Uh, in a normal, like a TensorFlow library, you would have a bunch of text and then you would try to do semantic analysis on it and just stop there. Here we are combining multiple things to build a working chatbot. And then because Google has built it so that you can further connect that chatbot into a website, into Facebook Messenger, into Google Home devices, and many other interfaces that they have built, Skype and other things. So we can just watch a quick video for that.
They increasingly expect your brand to be reachable anytime, anywhere. For example, customers of Mary's Hotel Company want instant answers, bookings, support. But providing these services and doing so in a personalized, cost-efficient manner is not easy. Dialogflow is here to help. With Dialogflow, Mary can serve her customers better by building a conversational experience powered by AI. They can chat directly with her brand to book rooms, ask customer support questions, request additional services, or make small talk. To set this up, all Mary has to do is provide some example dialogues around these topics. Then, Dialogflow uses machine learning to understand what her customers want and provide the most useful response. And the best part? Thanks to Dialogflow's end-to-end solution, Mary can build, test, and launch the conversational experience on the company website. Are using. Customers engage in conversations with her brand. She can also use Dialogflow to track analytics and make improvements to the user experience. With Dialogflow, Mary's Hotel Company can serve customers however and whenever they want to reach out. To do the same, sign up for Dialogflow today.
So basically, Dialogflow, all of you should go ahead and sign up on that. You can just use your Gmail account to log in. It's a free service. So it says you sign up for free. So it's a free sign up, and the limits are, for our purposes, the limits are pretty good. You won't exceed those limits. So all of you, as part of our exercise, should go ahead and sign up for Dialogflow so we can you can create some of the chatbots that we are going to build. So I'll switch back to the presentation. Okay. So we talked about that. So at a high level, let me move this out of the way. So at a high level, dialog flow consists of, so obviously a user, it interacts through some kind of input device, either a keyboard or a microphone. It is then accepted by dialog flow as query. Dialog flow uh, tries to get the intent behind the query. And if it's straightforward, it can it can look at the responses and then create a response, which is then sent to the output, either a screen or a speaker, and that way the user can get to it. Additionally, there is a concept called webhook, where additionally you can write some code that can receive all the input data from the input from the intent of the query and the query itself and some other context information. And then the code can run and connect to other backend APIs or databases, do its manipulation, and return back a response, which is then sent out and which is then sent to the user. So Dialogflow allows you to leverage what Google has built, but also it allows you to tap into your custom code and your custom systems or APIs to inject the data that you have. So you can mix and match and build best of class solution to solve sort of real world problems. Uh, so basically in the dialogue, so intent is a mapping between what a user says and what action should be taken by your software or your chatbot. So basically the dialog flow using machine learning, it goes through a training phrase. So when you specify a bunch of user requests, it does a natural language processing machine learning model on it, and based on that it can react to the same question asked differently and can provide the correct answer. They can take parameters so that you can extend them. It can remember the context. So if you ask for a soft drink versus a pizza, it knows to remember that context and then ask only those questions relevant to your context. It also has a concept of events. So either you can invoke event, or if a certain event happens, then a specific response is generated. There are a couple of types of dialogues that it can do. Linear dialogues, meaning it's just a series of statements that occur one after another, and they can be combined into one. And nonlinear dialogues are that require branching, and the branch is taken depending upon the user's response. The advanced type is called fulfillment, which is where the webhook or coding comes into the play. So today we are not going to focus on that. We're going to focus on just the basic content and these dialogues. So as an example, I'm going to walk through a example to show you how the dialog flow chatbot is constructed. And then as part of case study, I have actually broken up into two parts. Phase one is a content only. So it's not going to require you to write any code or write any backend logic in there. And Dialogflow supports English and Hindi language, so you can try to program in both. So let me just share one example. So here I have built a simple restaurant chatbot. and I intentionally have kept it simple. So let's just walk through some of the elements that Dialogflow uses and what it means. So the first thing is obviously intent. So as you can see here, there is a bunch of intents that I have created. So one is like a booker table, catering. There's a default fallback. So if it doesn't understand, it's going to go there. Uh, Default welcome intent and some other intent. So let me quickly go over that. So this is the default welcome intent. So basically, when a chat box is invented or triggered, people usually respond with good morning or hi or things like that. So we have put in some of the some of the sort of queries that the users might do, but basically all of them would uh, would be responded by one of the choices, which is, how are you doing and things like that. So this is really simple stuff. That this is the starting point. So that's why it's called default welcome intent. Uh, don't change anything. And then there is a default fallback intent. So meaning if the chatbot is not able to understand the words, it is always going to respond in a fixed way. Uh, uh, that says, I didn't get that. Can you say it again? Or can you say that again? And you intentionally put multiple versions in here so that it is not stuck saying the same thing again and again. And again, you can customize it for your need. So that's whenever you start a new uh, agent, that's what it is called. So if I start from the beginning, you log in, and then basically here you will have uh, a drop down. So initially when you log in, it will be empty, and then you can just create a new agent, and it'll create uh, the agent where you have to give it a name and everything. That's what I did and created this restaurant chatbot. Uh, so by default, you will get these two, the default welcome intent and default fallback intent. You can customize it to your needs. And then what I did was, so because it's a restaurant chatbot, one of the basic things that people want to know is operating hours. So I created an intent called operating hours, which could be triggered by saying any of these sentences. Lunchtime, are you open for dinner? When do you close? Things like that. And then the answer is really the same. What are the working hours for the restaurant? So we can quickly take a look at how it works. So in the normal coding, traditional programming, you can only type what's written over here, right? So you can only say exactly lunchtime question mark. But because this uses machine learning, it has actually trained on this queries, and you can ask different questions. So like over here, I can just take partial things. So I can just say hours, and it's going to go and show the response. We are open from 11 to 3 and 6 to 11. So just by saying hours, I did not actually specify hours anywhere here, but it was able to figure it out and do that. So that's like simple thing. Uh, so I can go for uh, are you open now? think something went wrong, so we had to train again. This is a free version, and it got delayed. So that, and then so as you can see here, when you make a change, oops. So agent training started. So that's what it is, and then it'll also notify when it's done. So its training is complete. So we can try again. So now it's showing that. So we open. It's having some issues. We open some lunch. All right, we seem to be facing some issues here. I may have to restart the browser. Okay, so it was able to answer, just took a long time. So let's try. So I intentionally added, to show you how, so I intentionally added lunchtime. So instead of asking the full question, I'm just asking one word. And because I added lunchtime, it is obviously going to respond. So I can say, are you open for during lunchtime? And it obviously can answer. But if I say dinner time, so nowhere I have actually said dinner time, but it was able to make sense out of it, is that that's what I intend. So it is able to tell the operating hours, no matter or how you word your questions. Now, the response is sort of driven by what you have given. So you need to give enough variations so that you can cover the scenarios. So if I just put some crazy thing which I am not trained on, and if I say I am hungry, obviously it's not going to work because uh, uh, it just came with something else. So it actually, as you can see here, there's a small talk thing. So we'll go ahead and I'll show you some of the defaults that Dialogflow gives. So when you create an agent, a chatbot agent, by default, you can enable small talk, which means Google has already programmed some of the common things. So how are you, and things like that. And you can customize, and they are categorized as uh, about agent, like who are you, how old are you, and things like that. So like right now, if I say, who are you, it actually has some default knowledge that it has built through its pre-trained models. And so it's just going to respond with something, but you can customize that. And that's important for a chatbot so that it can respond to users who are starting a conversation and they're not actually asking a relevant question, but they are just being nice. So, thank you, you are welcome, good morning, things like that. So there is lots of categories, you can customize that. And again, this adds smartness. This makes your chatbot look and behave smarter because it can answer some of these questions. So that comes by default. I'll just walk through some of the integrations. So Uh, so some of the integrations are web, Facebook Messenger. You can actually connect it to a phone. I think it's a beta in beta. So you can actually specify a phone number, and then anybody calling that phone number will activate the chatbot, and it will respond accordingly. You can integrate with all these other messenger type applications: Slack, Twitter, Skype, Telegram, Line, Cortana, which is surprising. This is from Microsoft. So you can actually take the code that you write here, and just with one click, you can expose it to different platforms. So that's pretty powerful. And obviously, you can extend it to the Google Assistant. So Google Home or similar devices, or even Google Assistant on your phone, you can expose there. So we saw about intents. There is a thing called entities. So right now we are using just the system entities, which are things that it by default understands, which is date, time, standard colors, things like that. They have a new concept called knowledge. So you can actually take some of the documents that you may already have. So I just created a document in a CSV format that, I just created a CSV with two columns. One has the question, the second column has the answer, and it can actually read that. So you don't have to type everything by hand. You can load up existing documents, and it can use that data to answer questions. Now this is in beta, so it might or might not work at this time. That's why they tag it with beta. So we are going to not really rely on that much. Fulfillment is the next part where they have a concept of webhook, which is basically nothing but a programming hook that can be triggered based on the user query. So we're going to see that as the next phase 2 of the case study. Right now, I'm going to focus on just the pure content. Um, okay. Another thing, so it has a history. It shows analytics of how many queries and all that. So you can, once it's deployed, you can look at the the top intents that people are asking, and uh, uh, exits, and then you can improve the chatbot accordingly. So there is a lot of information or analytics that is available. So another thing is you can specify language. So it is EN stands for English, HI for Hindi. So right now I'm doing in English, and I just to show, I created some sample intents in Hindi, just a couple of lines. So for, I think, operating hours, I added something in Hindi. So basically, if I type Bhojan Samay, then it's going to respond, Subah 11 se dophar 3 tak, in Hindi. So we can actually try that here. So we'll start with the basic pleasantries. So I can type here. Typically, people might say Namaste, and then the agent will basically come up with Namaskar. If we try again, it'll probably say something else. Aapka din shubh ho. So that's sort of default stuff. And now I'm going to type what we have coded. So first I'm going to try the exact things. And then it says that. So I can even say, let's try just saying part of the sentence. So it did not get it because I have not given enough examples in there. So it could not understand how to interpret that. So you can give extra words here in the training phase, and then it will get smarter. So you can probably experiment more on the Hindi side also in your case study and build a chatbot that can answer all the questions in Hindi or English. So I'll switch back to English to just walk through some more stuff that we're going to build. So we look at the intent. And this one, it keeps warning you that API v2 is the new standard. Since we are developing new, we'll automatically be using the version 2. So we don't need to worry about that. So I'll start with simple stuff. So let's say catering related questions. It's a restaurant chatbot. People might ask questions about catering service. So they may ask the same question multiple ways. So you can give multiple phrases, and then you can specify some answers. It could be one or more. And then you can try it by saying, or food for party. So I only gave 2, so it's not going to do that. But probably meal for party it will take. So catering service. Yeah, so for catering service, which I have not given here, but it was able to deduce that catering service and caterer is the same thing. So it then gave the correct response here. So as you can see, depending upon how many or what kind of training phrases you give, it can get smarter at it. I intentionally gave just 2 here, and you can see that slight variation trips it up. So if I say order food for party, let's see if what it answers with. Well, it's running really slow. Yeah, maybe I close some of the extra tabs I have. So it was not able to solve it because I didn't give enough data points. Whereas for other entity like operating hours, I gave a lot of data to train, so it is able to answer smartly on stuff that I have not explicitly programmed. So that's the example of just static content. So this is there is nothing great about it. Another example is delivery service. If you say the words, can you deliver? Do you offer delivery? It responds with the standard answers. Now the interesting stuff will come here when you have, it's called linear dialogue, meaning you are going to, you need to provide enough data inputs before it can give a proper response. So example is book a table. So you're a restaurant, you're trying to make a reservation. So the way I think somebody is not on mute. Okay, I'm just going to mute this person. All right. All right, there's no disturbance now. So on the Booker table is an interesting thing that, so I gave three kinds of ways you can book a table, book a table, reserve a table, but then it automatically is able, Google is able to automatically color the intents. Actually, these are called parameters. And so it is able to detect that phi is a number. And so it basically, the entity is called, the inbuilt entity for number. Then 9 p.m. is the time. And then the tomorrow, day after tomorrow is all date related. So it basically automatically created these three parameters. You can add more if you want. And then you can provide a prompt for that. So if somebody just says book a table, it is going to prompt and is going to use these things for prompt. And we could, if you gave multiple things, it will say at random, it will pick one of them. And then the response is, again, now you can see how you can customize it. So right now I'm keeping it simple. I'm just echoing what was asked back by collecting everything together. So it's going to respond with, by using the parameters in the sentence. So let's take a look. So if I just say book a table, that's not enough information. So it's called linear dialogue, meaning if I make one query, it's going to basically ask me more questions. So book a table gave a response saying how many people in the party. I'm going to say 4, and then it's going to linearly go and ask me the next question. What time? Say 9 p.m. And then it will ask me what date. So I will say tomorrow, or say today. And once I say that, it actually gave answer. Your table for 4 has been reserved at 9 p.m. on 21st August. So right now we are intentionally not doing anything fancy. It was able to build, but you can now take this complete information and then pass it to fulfillment, which is your code. And then now you know that you have collected all the needed elements to make a reservation, and you can call your code to make an actual reservation or plug into any other restaurant reservation system that may be out there. So you can very easily extend your chatbot to do actually useful stuff that result in useful services. So that's an example of linear flow. Similarly, for nonlinear flow, you can create a nonlinear flow, meaning branching, and I'm going to leave that for you guys to read up on that and see how much progress you can make. So basically, that's like the phase 1 module that I covered. So let me switch back to the slides. Okay, and then actually, I'll open up to see if you have any questions. I think we covered a lot of material. So you can mute yourself, and if you have any questions, you can ask that. So any questions on what we learned so far? Anybody on the phone? Can you hear me?
So,
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you have any questions?
no,
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, I didn't get the motivation why we are creating this chatbot.
Yeah, we are basically we wanted to have an example. So like the earlier week, last week, we created the RPA solutions. So we wanted to
Yes.
build on that and show the different kinds of automation. So the RPA automation that you saw, uh, let me see
Okay.
the slide. So the RPA automation you saw was basically the objective was to take a loan application, right? And then you worked on the example where the paper forms got keyed in by somebody into an Excel, and then you used UiPath to take that and upload it to a UI, uh, or format it into Excel and then send it over to something. So this is going to take it to the next level. So in phase one, we are just going to have a chat box instead of people filling forms or uh, paper forms or going to a branch and giving that information and then somebody typing it in. This is the next level of automation where if you can build a chatbot, then you can make the entire process automated and self-service, and people can just use it from their phone. In India, phones are now widespread and pretty common with good connectivity. So with a chatbot, it doesn't even have to be like a smartphone, because if you linked it to a phone, then all you need is a regular phone that can make phone calls. But on the back end, like in this example, like Bank of Kuber can just uh, install or implement a chatbot system that will be able to answer all kinds of questions, including all kinds of applications. So initially, it may not look obvious because that's going to be covered in like phase two and phase three. So because phase three is actually where we are going to build actual loan application. So instead of filling a paper or telling the bank employees loan information about your loan, you're going to engage or you're going to build a chatbot that will ask the necessary questions, and then based on the responses from the user, you're going to collect all the data, and that will eliminate all kinds of data entry, and you can build a solution that is scalable and cheap to operate because it can run 24 by 7. It does not put any more load on the user because at a minimal, most people have access to a phone. Even if they don't have a smartphone, they can at least talk and respond. So that's why we chose to pick Dialogflow as a tool similar to RPA, which is fairly easy to use, and we can leverage on the machine learning techniques and models that Google has already built, and then we can provide the right kind of data and build a solution on top of it. So it's a progression if you think about it. We went from uh, RPA solutions, which are basic automations, to the next step of this Dialogflow chatbot, where it's intelligent automation with it's very easy to adapt and can solve a lot of problems. And then eventually, once you sort of master all this, then you can go into the uh, parts of how Google created the machine learning models that drive the voice to text and text to voice and other kind of machine learning used in this tool. So consider this a start. And so we are intentionally picking relatively easy to use tools. So you're not bogged down into the syntax and the mechanics of the different machine learning libraries. They require considerable setup and considerable background information about advanced math and statistics and some of the machine learning concepts. So that's why we are using Dialogflow as a tool. Does that answer your question?
Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So in phase one, basically, you need to, so first of all, you need to, using your Gmail account, go to dialogflow.com and set up account. It's free. And then you can create your first agent, and you can create that in English and Hindi. So you can navigate through the settings and enable these two languages. I think currently it only supports Hindi as the only Indian language. They may be adding more languages later. So you can do that. And then in phase one, just think of static questions or linear or non-linear flows and try to program them and build a chatbot that can uh, uh, answer the question. So you can build a chatbot for, like I showed you, for a restaurant. It could be for a pizza shop. It could be for a hospital. It could be for a college, like yours, university. So it's up to you to pick the domain that you want to work on. Uh, but basically, you can choose a domain and create a chatbot for that kind of domain or that kind of problem set. And so right now, first we'll focus on the basic. In phase one, we'll focus on building purely content-based chatbot that is not really tapping into any backend logic or databases. In phase two, so if you complete phase one and are able to build a chatbot that is multilingual and can answer lots of questions in different ways, you can move on to the phase two, which is accessing backend data. So as an example, uh, bank location specific addresses or operating hours. So you can set up a context to say, I want a particular branch in some location in Pune. And then once you set the context, then next time you ask the question, what are the operating hours, you can give specific information. So that would be phase two. And that would be what will be the case study one. And so you can work between now and tomorrow and try to build these chatbots and see if you have any issues. If you have any questions or you're stuck, you can post questions on the WhatsApp group, and one of us will try to answer that. So that's the case study part that we're going to focus on. So any questions about the case study? Or in general, any questions about uh, the dialogue flow and what we covered today? Um, I, I think you can unmute yourself if you want to speak.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
This is Rishikesh Gaikwad. Sir, I want to ask, uh,
Yeah, go ahead. No, there was a lot of echo. Can you repeat the question?
hello?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, where we are supposed to deploy this chatbot?
Yeah, you just go to dialogflow.com and log in. So I will again go back. So if you go to Dialogflow right here, dialogflow.com, and then you just sign up for free. and then you say go to console, and you will land here. So once you log in, look for the symbol go to console, and then you will land on here. And then on the left hand side, you can create a new agent by clicking here and then selecting new agent, and it'll show you everything. It'll allow you to complete. So right now, if you go, this is what you will see. You will not have anything here, and then you can just click on the create agent to create a new agent, and then set up your intents, set up your knowledge base, and uh, develop the different ways you can answer questions. So focus on the domain. So all of you go to a pizza shop or a hospital or a university and try to anticipate what kind of questions that people ask in those situations, and write a chatbot to answer that. So that is your case study.
Yes, sir. But in dialog flow, we can create chatbot, and where we are supposed to deploy that means on which platform, or on which means specific platform like online
Yeah,
or
right now
somewhere.
you can leave it here. So there is on the right hand side, you can test it, and you can basically take a video of that as you test it and then share that. So we don't need to actually deploy it to any Facebook Messenger or website. We can just try it here. You can ask any question. This is the console on the right hand side. You can either talk or you can type, and it'll show you the responses here. So that's all you need to do is you can just record a video of this, and that way we can see it running.
Okay, sir.
Because you can't just type here, right? You can't just type here. You have to code here, and then when you ask the question, the response will come here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. If not, then we can end a bit early. There's 7 more minutes to go. So that would be your assignment. Pick a domain and create a chatbot, and share the videos on WhatsApp as you make progress on that. I'll stay online for a few more minutes if you have any questions. Otherwise, I think we can drop. And then we'll meet again tomorrow at 8 a.m.